Hey everyone, it's Mandy Gibbons here, and welcome to the Mandy Gibbons podcast show. And I'm here with George, and I'm going to get George to tell us a little bit about himself. I love George, and I actually met George through Blake. So he was on one of my other podcasts, and then we kind of connected through that. And then also I was able to then, through George, thinking that I was awesome, and me thinking George was awesome, and all that with Blake as well, being involved with UFIND. So we want to be able to talk to you guys today about UFIND. But before we start that, I want to have George introduce himself a little bit, tell us a little bit about his awesomeness and the brilliance, and then we'll move into the process of UFIND. So, hey, George.
Okay. Thanks for that Mandy style introduction. Keeping it real.
That's it.
I just learned from you that you're the chook whisperer.
Yes, that's right.
Chickens just lay more eggs around Mandy.
That's true.
She's their cheese squad. Every egg that lays, hurrah, hurrah.
That's
to
it.
the E, to the G, to the G. What do we got?
I don't go that far, but I do have a uniform. No.
You should go that far.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. About me, I like walks on the beach. And
Pina coladas.
Yeah. Well, in the context of our connection, really, my life's been dedicated for a very long time to personal development. And just from a young age, I was just shocked that the way I was seeing the world was just one way, and it was riddled with limitations, assumptions that were not true about myself, about how the world works. And it lit up a fuse in me to just want to keep unraveling what else. So I became a personal development addict. I could have gone drugs. I went personal development. Choose your addiction, And with all addictions, Mandy, come the dark side.
Yes.
Spending too much money on spiritual retreats and workshops, and and also, there was a dark side to the personal development industry where they were breeding codependence, many of them.
Yes.
And I only knew it when I walked away, because I got sick of being loaded with too much knowledge, which was great, too much philosophy, which was fantastic. And it was a lot of science around it, and a lot of evidence-based stuff. And I loved it. But what I noticed is it wasn't translating into me changing and me living differently, and then my life changing. It was to a degree where improvements in my confidence, improvement in my intuition meant that I was making better decisions. It made my income grow a lot more.
Yeah.
But having said that, it was a small difference compared to what I felt I should have had in my life.
Yeah.
And so 20 years ago, I started coaching, but about 12 years ago, I had a controlled existential crisis. It was consciously brought on because a few events had happened that made me realize that nothing is what it seems.
Yeah.
And when you realize that things that appear pure and fantastic can actually be the opposite, and things that appear terrible and not to stay away from are actually fantastic, then you go, oh my gosh, if my brain can be gullible enough to switch the good to bad and the bad to good, it's like, I need to get really humble here and really curious and start to really learn how to discern. I'm sounding like a freaking rapper now. Learn to discern, yo, bro.
Yo.
Yeah, so, and then that's how EP7 happened. And EP7 is an Empowered for Purpose program that's 20% of its value is integrating all the pieces of knowledge that bring you to an understanding of who are you, why are you so adaptive and powerful, and how can you use that to create a life that your heart really wants, and from sustainable, uplifting relationships to creating adventure and achieving great things for you and your community, you know, ultimately leading to a legacy even, you know, like that's your true potential to do that. And so then recently, like 3 years ago, I knew that I couldn't take EP7 to a mass audience in the mining industry for mental health because it was just too involved, too comprehensive. It was good for one-on-one people coming and groups that were ready to work on their personal development, but not mining folk who've been working 12 hours and suddenly they're in a chair going, oh, is this a mental health session? You know, you can't just do that to them because so I adapted the principles and process. I adapted it into a version, like a light but still effective version called UFIND, you know? And that's, so when we met, it was good because the kind of work you do and what UFIND is just great for these blokes, you know, to probably have their logic part of them stimulated and validated, that things need to make sense.
Yes.
And we can explore that together, as in why it works and all that. Yeah. But that's a bit about me, and I've written a few books and I've done workshops, and the recent one was for UNESCO for the youth conference, World Youth Conference, and that was really exciting to be able to deliver that. And you know what I did was I adapted UFIND to the World Kindness Initiative, and it was you find the kinder way, and then I showed them how the process helps them shift to always find a way to be kind, even when the temptation isn't to not be, you know, and to not be weak, to get stronger, and to invite others to a better way to be with you, you know, through boundaries. Oh, boundaries, you know, what are they?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I do have some questions here for you that just in regards to you.
Are they interrogation type questions?
No.
You're trying to expose me as a con man, a fraud? I'm on guard.
If I thought that, you wouldn't be on here.
No. Overnight, Mandy changes her show to current affair.
Yeah, that's it.
Catch the con man in the coaching industry.
That's it, the 60 minutes. That's so funny. So one thing that I love about UFIND and the actual process is that it actually encourages self-awareness, but also intuition at the same time. And so so I wanted to ask if you could break down what it means to be an intuitive coach, because that really does help the process when you're taking someone through it, right?
Yeah. So are you saying that how they both work together?
Yes.
You know? Yeah. Well, like one of the things I noticed about you when I first met you is you remind me of how I was coaching for a decade, which was you back your own instinct, you tune in, you absorb so much of the other person, where they're at, what they're saying, how they're saying it, how they're reacting to your questions, which you ask a lot of to understand. And then suddenly you're just informed, and then you hit this nice flow of what to ask, how to ask, what dots to join, what examples to give, what analogies to share, right? And so suddenly it just starts to flow. And then clients would say, I don't know how she did it. Talking about you now.
Yes.
It's not a pronoun for me. I'm happy with the he. I don't know how she did it, but it was awesome. I just felt better, clearer,
Yeah.
Things change for me, but I just don't know how it happened. It's because it was so natural.
Yeah.
It's like them going home to their truth. So why would they feel like they had to climb a mountain, Mount Everest, to finally go, yes, it was hard, blood, sweat, and tears, but I finally achieved how I needed to be to fix my life. It's like, it's not meant to be like that. It's inverse to that. You've actually climbed a freaking mountain with self-deception, giving yourself a hard time, doubting yourself, and maybe overextending or whatever. So it is a mountain you climb to get you out of the joy, the ease of achieving more for less effort. And then finally, when you unravel why you're climbing crazy mountains, then finally you stop climbing the mountain and you feel like you're just living the life that is normal. And then you go, but it seemed to have coincided with my sessions with Mandy. So, but that's cool. That's great. It's meant to be like that.
Yeah.
Because as you know, as coaches, when we are at our best, we make sure we move out of the way.
Yes, that's right.
And we help them join their dots. And then they start to own what they're seeing.
Yeah.
And that's why it works, right? Yes. But when we get tempted, because we have our bad days, when we get tempted to tell them something that we think they really need to hear, that they're going to love, and it makes sense, and they agree with us, right?
Yes.
They agree with us. But it's an opinion. Yeah. And it's logical, but it didn't calibrate in their subconscious.
Yes.
Because we didn't follow the process to facilitate enough relevance to help that brain create that tipping point where they're in that, where it does induce that shock for change, because they've had an epiphany, a realization, an aha, because we facilitated properly through them really realizing that they were accidentally doing something that is so against their own instinct and better nature and wisdom. So when you combine that intuition to do that naturally with a structure, a process that ironically is the process you follow when you are intuitive in flow, then you've got the best of both worlds, because not only are you doing what you do naturally, but you're also making sure you're consistent and comprehensive, because it's right there. But also they get to see the tool. They get to feel a part of how that tool represents their journey from beginning and end of validating themselves, understanding themselves. I've just realized we're explaining how these two work together, but it's like we're keeping the elephant in the room secret. What is this bloody UFIND? Why are they keeping us in suspense? Unnecessary. Give us the bloody acronym. What does UFIND stand for?
Well, it's validation and insights at the same time, right?
Yeah, big validation first, because as you know, we're so hard on ourselves, eh?
Yeah.
We're on the spectrum of perfectionism.
Yeah.
And, you ask someone who's been perfectionistic, are you perfectionistic? No, I am so far from perfect.
Yeah.
And the way they say it, it's like, you're a perfectionist because you're feeling the heat of not being something that you think you need to be.
That's exactly.
And obviously there's a difference between excellence, like wanting to go to another level. And there's a difference between that and thinking that you need to go to a level that's bulletproof, that you finally arrive. It's like, oh, angels, you've arrived. Congratulations. You are now to be adored and admired by the planet.
And
you now have nothing you can do that is wrong.
I announce you. Dunk, dunk, dunk.
Now, miraculously, people will come and they'll throw themselves at your feet because you represent everything they wish to be. Oh gosh,
That would be a lot of pressure.
Yes. Not only would it be a lot of pressure,
hey,
not only would it be a lot of pressure, it doesn't even bloody exist.
No. Just the thought of that is like, how exhausting.
How exhausting, exactly. And also, you know, like on these mental health talks in mining specifically, right? We do go through this understanding of perfectionism, how hard we are on ourselves. And you can imagine the macho culture. It's like, I need to be everything for my family. I need to be the provider and this and that. And ironically, it's not just the men, it's the women having the macho mechanism in them as well. They adopted the same attitude. And therefore there's shame in letting anyone down, even if it's unintentional. Which is friggin', that's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
Yes. And when you're actually working out there, there's a lot of sacrifices that get made, you know, in regards to lifestyle and so forth when you're actually doing that. And so there are benefits too, obviously. But when you're in that place of trying to keep up that perfectionism and be everything for everybody, you're already putting yourself in that exhausted place, right? And then you're putting that pressure on yourself, and then you're not really feeling where the benefits are anymore of it, right? And so you feel like you've got to be tough all the time. And that's, you know, when perfection is, when you're sort of like feeling like you really want to be perfect, but you're also feeling like at the same time you're failing and it's not meeting in the middle, right? There's no balance there.
It's torture. Because do you know anyone who's perfect? Every time we ask this question, everybody goes, no. Some people point at someone for a laugh. Oh, he thinks it's perfect. You know, here he is. And it's like, okay, no one's perfect. But we're all on the spectrum of doing this to ourselves, thinking we need to become something that doesn't exist. And then it's like, okay, well, do you want to be around someone who thinks they're perfect? You know, you get a lot of laughter with that question. It's like, as if, you know, and it's like, okay. And so when someone's putting a lot of pressure on themselves to be perfect, are they fun to be around? No. And then they think they're doing you a favor by putting pressure on you to be perfect because they think they're saving you. From the big, bad, ugly world. That smells the blood of mistakes and it'll come. The Grim Reaper gets you for failing at something.
And I think too, when you're actually, you know, doing FIFO, there is that perception that gets thrown at you that you're living the perfect lifestyle, right? You might have the money, that, you know, there's all these wonderful things going on. And so when you're out there and you're doing that work and you're doing the long hours, there's that guilt also of feeling like maybe you're ungrateful for what you have, but also trying to keep up that perfectionism that everyone sort of like holds you up here about, right? Because you got the job, you got the money, you've got all this supposed wonderful stuff, but in here you're just not feeling it.
That's so true. You put it really well. And it's so sad because there's so many people in that predicament and they don't know how to get out of it. And the pressure just keeps mounting, and eventually you're looking at a volcano. It's just building lava pressure, and eventually that lava is going to explode. And unfortunately, the ways it explodes does a lot of harm. And sometimes these people, to not harm others, they decide to harm themselves. And it's really sad, you know, like why we end up in these situations, you know. So it's like we don't want to be around anyone who puts that pressure on them, because it's hard work, they're high maintenance. You're on eggshells, because if you give them any kind of feedback, it's experienced as destructive criticism of attacking them, like you're stabbing them. And you're just trying to tell them maybe you can be different, you know, in this or that. And they feel like you've just told them you failed, you're not good enough, you should have had your act together already, because that's their inner voice. And it's kind of like, wow. So let me get this straight. We're trying to be something that doesn't exist to become something we don't even want to be around.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like, and we don't know that we're doing this. And it's only when you unpack it and you create a bit of a perspective and you look at it and you go, how did this happen? How did we get programmed to try to be something that isn't even of value?
Yes.
You know, like nothing. Like, and if you really look at perfection and you look at the experience you're after that you think you'll get with perfection, it really isn't about nothing else to do, no mistake. It isn't. It's just about value.
Yeah.
Did you give value that was appreciated? And did you package or frame the way you gave so that it reciprocates value back, so that you can be fed to give again?
Yes.
You know, that's so if you're going to get close to a perfect state, it would be those beautiful passages of time where you're in that infinity symbol where what you give is valued and it triggers the opposite equal reaction value back.
Yes.
And then it just keeps going. And that's a relationship. That's sustainability. But we need to be a work in progress for each other, because what I'm giving you today may not be what you value tomorrow.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
So why are we holding out for a destiny where everything we do is always what everything wants, when life has always been dynamic and forever changing? Why are we after a static identity and a static reality when that removes the movement of joy, of moving from a place you don't want to a place that you do want? That's adventure.
Yes.
And here we are trying to destroy the very fabric of what makes life exciting.
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't make sense. And it's like my controlled existential crisis had to unravel this nonsense and get to a place where I could be a work in progress and love it.
Yes.
And Mandy, that's been my proudest achievement in my entire life.
Yes.
Like, I used to be I used to put so much pressure on myself to be what can never be criticized.
Yes.
And my wife couldn't even reach me. And I was a shit investor, Mandy. Like, I used to think, oh yeah, oh, that sounds like, my impulse was, oh, that's awesome. Throw money at that. 10 grand at this speculative freaking penny stock, 10 grand at that. Well, penny stocks, unfortunately, like 1 in 50 work out. So, you know, the odds were against me from the beginning. And I was throwing big money at these things, and even other things that should have worked didn't work. So it was a weird thing. And my poor wife, she was being impacted by my shit investing.
Yeah.
And I was in denial.
Yeah.
And I had to be in denial, Mandy.
Yes.
Because if I wasn't, it meant I was an epic failure. I was a dropkick. I was a stupid idiot that just hurts my family because I'm not up to doing what it takes to provide and to build, right? Yes. So that ugly world, I was never allowed to confront that I was creating it. Yes. Because the shame, the fear that I was that pathetic idiot. Yeah. I couldn't go there. Yes. And thankfully, my brain has this wonderful, wonderful superpower called denial, where I can hide all the bullshit, still feel it, you know, I still feel the tremor of its impact and the blowback of reality from that denial, but I get to just pretend it's not really there. Yeah. Right. And and it's only when I thought, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to adapt and understand why I'm a shit investor, you know, like, and decide to learn not to be, if I'm never allowed to look at why I'm shit. Yes. You know, and I guess I had to have the courage to decide that if I'm shit in anything, it's only because I'm assuming shit. I'm assuming ideas that are wrong, and it's distorted the way I see things. And therefore I've lost before I've made the decision, because I'm not seeing things the way they can be seen. And therefore I've separated what I'm doing and what I'm thinking, what I'm assuming, to the guy that gets to change that and improve and evolve and grow. And that separation was the breakthrough, the overarching breakthrough. And then the ongoing breakthroughs were allowed to happen, which was, why am I stuck here? What's going on? And that's really leads us to UFIND, as in you find the breakthrough for you, for any situation.
Yes.
And really, shouldn't we just go through the acronym now? I mean, we've really built the suspense on this unnecessarily. Maybe we should be kind and put in the show notes of this podcast. The acronym for UFIND before you read this is this, just to kind of spare you.
We can do that.
Yeah. Well, we'll go through it. So UFIND is U, the letter U, for understand your situation. Now, it's easier said than done, because our brain always wants certainty and it jumps to conclusions on our behalf really quick. So often we see something and our brain's already decided what it is and what it means to us, and that's it. We've just been hijacked from our past learning into what it has to be. And the brain fills in all the blanks and ignores all the data that doesn't fit, it doesn't make sense, it just ignores it. So understanding the situation is critical. So take a deep breath. Remember I said I had to be humble and curious, because I realized I don't know shit. And if I'm stuck in any situation, it's like because I am the one compromised in the way I'm seeing it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be stuck. I just see a better way, right? So every time you're stuck in any situation, know categorically that you do not understand the situation. Yes, you think you do, but time to take a deep breath, time to detach, walk around the block, do anything, meditate, do whatever you need to do to chill out.
Yes.
And then look at the situation in a neutral way and go, I'm just going to assume there's more to this.
Yes.
There might not be, but I'm just going to assume there is more. And start to observe as an observer. What else? What else is there to this? And start to go, well, what is the cause and effect of everything around me? So that's understanding the situation. Then F of UFIND is now you get to feel the impact it's having on you. And start to understand what specific emotions are going through you, defining what's your reaction to that situation. Once you know those emotions, and most people don't know how to catch it. So as you know, we've got the emojis in the UFIND process, and it's cool because, you know, I've had many people that don't know how to tell me what they're feeling, but they're feeling a lot. They just don't know how. So when I show them the emojis, right?
These are awesome.
Yeah, when I show them, these are the disempowering ones. So there's quite a few of them. We've got empowering ones as well. They'll choose. I remember an autistic guy, he chose his brilliant mind, but he just didn't know how to tune into himself and represent what he feels. And I remember him choosing 40 emotions in 2 minutes, right? And so what's good about when you know what you're feeling is that then you can go, all right, now we get to identify why you should feel that way.
Yes.
And the why is really revealing the assumptions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's like, and what's critical about this is that often we're judging ourselves before we understand why we're feeling that way. We're deciding we shouldn't feel that way because it's either weak or it means we're letting something get to us. We shouldn't let anything get to us. We should numb and deny ourselves our feelings. Like, yeah, that's clever. That's like driving a vehicle and hiding the speed, the temperature gauge and the oil. It's like, I'm not allowed to see this information because if I'm low on fuel, it means I'm That's embarrassing. No, I'm always full of fuel. It's like, what the hell? Like, what about this biological vehicle? Don't you think you should be tuning into your emotional gauges?
Yes.
Because if you know how you're experiencing an environment emotionally, you can start to represent yourself better because you know what's really going on for you, right?
Yes.
So then when I identify the assumptions to feel that way, you got to just assume and give your brain the benefit of the doubt because he already decided you should feel this way. So just hear it out.
Yes.
Chill out and hear it out.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, and if you go, brain, I have a view that you shouldn't be thinking this, the brain goes, oh gosh, here he goes again. Thinks he knows better. Ramp up the emotional intensity now because he's trying to suppress it. He's trying to release denial, right? Ramp it up more. He thinks he can beat us. No, the subconscious is a powerhouse and it'll beat us, right?
And you can see how things like bottle up more and more and more when you do that, right?
Yeah. And that's why we end up being pissed off at little things.
Yes.
Because we've just ignored so many issues that we end up being pushed on the edge where we're just over everything.
Yeah.
So someone does your eggs wrong at a cafe and you lose your shit. You had one job, get my eggs done right.
It's like the whole world is out to get you, right?
Oh yeah, that's where it goes. That's where it ends up going. So and then you just think that you don't belong in the world because nothing you do is ever good enough for anyone, you know, like it all just mounts up. It becomes a clusterfuck. Right. So read your cluster gauges, your emotional cluster gauges before it becomes a clusterfuck. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So then with UFIND, you go, all right, what am I thinking to feel this way? To feel so that I need to feel this way. What am I thinking? And these assumptions come out, right? Because we don't feel anything for no reason ever. Right? We might not know, we might be just in a mood and the situations are displaced, but you can always know. And sometimes, you know, 1,000 cuts, a lot has mounted up and it's all kind of, you know, all over the place. But then what you need to do is just start to peel back and start joining the dots on what's been affecting you for all that time of self-neglect and start to appreciate that you're the only one responsible for that. When this thinking comes out, then we're able to go, all right, I should think this way. I should think this way because, and that's us validating the brain more and the brain will go, yeah, we should. Let me tell you why. And I'll give you a lecture. And in that lecture comes out more assumptions and you can keep saying, yeah, and we should also assume this because, and more will come out and you can keep doing this. And then finally, you're going to notice something that's always there when anybody's stuck, which is the assumptions are extreme. And you will spot that you've either catastrophized that things are bad, nothing you do will ever be good enough for people, or nothing you do will ever be good enough for you. So either you think you're unworthy of being good enough for society, or you think society's are freaking idiots and they never understand you. But basically, it's all freaking too hard. It's all bad, catastrophizing, right? And then the other side of it is the extreme optimism. And you know what's interesting? Like I used to cringe when the personal development industry went through a couple of decades of beating your chest saying, you got to be positive, man. And they demonize negative, you know, like it's like, what? You just said something that's negative? Shame on you.
That's it. Or
to be successful.
That's it. And also like if you're feeling bad about yourself or going through, you know, struggling emotionally, that you're operating at a lower vibration. And so, you know, like off you go, we're casting you off type thing. You see a lot of that type of stuff, you know what I mean, as well. You're no longer part of the family.
That's like That's
Of
like
the
spiritual.
Ascension family.
That's like spiritual snobbery.
Yeah.
That's how the ego somehow manages to claw in like a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
And take over the person who thinks
Yeah.
they're spiritual.
Yeah.
That's not pretty. That's actually as ugly as it gets.
Yeah.
When you think you're being all enlightened and you couldn't be darker with that
Yes.
attitude. That's denial at its best.
Yes. And I think too, like, you know, and this is like a little off subject, but like I think UFIND is very good in its practicalness, whether you come from like a you know, maybe a more spiritual place or not. It's very practical, and it's very straightforward to take you through the process, especially no matter, you know, what point of view you're coming from. If you're beating yourself up and you're finding that you're struggling, and maybe you don't always have the support that you need around you at the time either, it's a really nice process to be able to take you through so you can have a better understanding of where you're at and also provide solutions for yourself.
Yeah, it is practical, because, you know, when you get to that point where these assumptions are coming out and they're extreme,
Yeah.
I know this sounds extreme, but I need to say it this way.
Yeah.
It severs us away from our wisdom spine.
Yes.
So our wisdom spine is when we are so tuned in with our instinct of what we need to stand for, what needs to be a non-negotiable, the way things need to work for everyone to be inclusively benefiting. In other words, we have this deep understanding that we are all meant to do good for each other, and that no one's perfect, and that we're all meant to just learn as we go, and our good intentions are meant to be a constant, so that anything that appears like it's not good intentions, even if it's someone lost their way and they felt justified in being nasty because they feel someone's against them, deep down below that is good intentions, and they just lost their way with their fears and doubts and their paranoia. And so these people are easily salvageable when you freaking give a shit and you move through the smoke of them losing their way with you, and then they become the most grateful raving fans, because everybody was, with their insecurities, was blowing back on them, demonizing them. But you didn't. You saw through the smoke. You had the vision to know that they were worth it, and that their fluffing about was because they were out of control in fear, and all you had to do was be a rock long enough so that they assumed you were the illusion of a rock for a while. And they tried to poke because they were so scared of being ambushed like they normally are. And then they notice the consistency, that you're solid for them and you believe in them, but you also have self-respect, so that they could see that you're not going to let them push you too far. And that, but you express disappointment and hold the beacon of them not wanting to doubt you for wrong reason, all that. And then suddenly you have just inspired someone out of a very dark place.
That's right.
Now, that spine is in everyone. To want to be that kind of person for those that are lost.
I agree.
You know? And so when these extremes come out and the person's in an observer mode, they get back to that spine, and they go, these extremes don't represent me. And I could see how they make me become something that makes the problem happen, you know, creates the problem, or feeds it and makes it worse and creates a downward spiral. I could see how I'm complicit. So then they get to short circuit that nonsense. So UFIND then gets to the N in UFIND, which is now you get to neutralize the extremes. Neutralize. And then you come to that balanced place where you matter and they matter. But if they want to sell you that you don't matter, you get to help them understand that that invitation is not coming from their good nature, and invite them to a better connection. And that's just one example of the dynamic, but it's so common, right? So that's N, right? You now get to go, all right, what is what do I want to do about this? How do I neutralize these extremes?
Yes.
How do I get back to what my spine is for that situation?
Yes.
Once you understand, you go, oh man, I need to assume this, not that. That's extreme.
Yeah.
And so all bad and all good means it'll sort itself out.
Yeah.
It'll come around. I don't need to do anything. It's all good. It's not that bad at all.
Yeah.
Right? So what do these two extremes have in common, Mandy, is that they both con us out of being different.
That's right. Yeah.
And the only thing we can control is being different. And yet our brain goes, oh, it's all bad. Nothing you do will make a difference. What's the point? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just give up.
Yes.
There's nothing to do differently.
Yes.
And the other one goes, it's all good. It'll all sort itself out. You don't have to do nothing. It's like, wow, what a con job.
Yeah.
So when you see the con job, you don't like being deceived. And most people, their instinct takes over and goes, shit, I get it now.
Yes.
And therefore D is now you get to decide a balanced, more effective approach that represents your own wisdom spine of principles and values that you are proud to represent,
Yes.
that will optimize and make you proud of who you choose to be in that situation.
Yes.
And that's UFIND.
Yeah, that's it. And it's a really cool way to be able to self-facilitate.
Yeah, it is. Because often, you're stuck in a situation and your brain just remunerates and just spins amongst feeling sorry for yourself and why is life so hard, and then it looks at the situation and it magnifies the pain of it, and like how can I solve this? But we don't realize that we can't solve it because the way we're looking at it won't let us get to the ideas that would solve it. And so you find when you follow that process and you restore clarity, you can see things that you didn't see before.
Yes.
And there is a lot to see.
Yes.
Always in any situation that our brain can knock out from the radar, Yeah,
and I think too, it shows you a really powerful way of how you can utilize your emotions in a process like that, rather than beating yourself up about your emotions.
Yeah, like if you look at the principles of solving any personal development problem, for you trying to fix anything. I just knocked my monitor and it's shaking.
That's
no
all
earthquake.
I just knocked this a couple of minutes ago as well. I'm like, stay there.
What was the question? What was the train of thought?
We spoke about self-facilitation and also the process of understanding your emotions when you're going through the UFIND process and not beating yourself up over them.
You know how we have principles like it's important to have emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So you can emotionally manage yourself and others when things are heating up and and unstable. There's a lot of tips and principles to guide you, right?
Yes.
What I like about what EP7 does, and now what this adaptation of for UFIND does, is that it creates the processes built by those principles so that you just have to focus on tangible steps that are doable, that are within your intellect to do, and then you end up with the value at the end.
Yes.
And all it does, it's like the training wheels to take you through something consciously that your brain's not letting you go through.
Yes.
But on your good days and in some areas of life, you do it instinctively, effortlessly. But for some reason, through the extremes, your brain goes, oh, I'm sorry, but your wisdom is not needed here. This is war. This is a helpless situation where we need to give up and run away or punch someone. you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's very rare for us to be in a situation where the high stress response to cut and run is actually a valid one. And you know, when we ask these, when we survey people in big groups and we say, in the last 100 times that you actually found yourself highly stressed,
Yes.
where the high stress response prepares your physical body for impending harm.
Yes.
And so you tighten your muscles and you
Yes.
get your adrenaline going, ready to escape or to push back hard. How many of that 100 times did you actually need that biological response?
Yes.
And the most common answer is 0 to 1.
Yes.
And I prefer 1
Yeah.
as a guide, because sometimes you do need high stress.
Yes. Yes.
You know, you need to jump out of the way of a bus. You
Yeah.
need to
Yeah. That's it.
But 99 times we were engaging a high stress response from extreme thinking that wasn't even valid.
Yes.
So we end up reacting in a way
Yes.
that lives in the reality of a war zone when it's really a playground for opportunity to thrive.
Yes.
And so you think to yourself, what reality am I living in any situation where I'm stuck?
Yes.
Am I living my own delusional assumptions and playing that out as I superimpose it and I over what's really going on?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we use this example, which is really good, which is what a raised voice can trigger people into stress.
Yes.
If someone starts yelling, it can stress people out, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to assume that if someone raises their voice, it means they're about to attack, they're going to get aggressive and attack, then you need the high stress response.
Yes. Yes.
But then if you collected more data, say you used the UFIND process and you look closely to why they were, the circumstances around them raising their voice, and then you discover through the cause and effect of all this that they don't feel heard.
Yes.
And you go, they're raising their voice because they don't feel heard.
Yes.
Even though I'm a meter away from them. Like it's not it's not like I need the extra 30 decibels for this. But anyway, the fact is that's how desperate they are.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear me. No one wants to care. I need to use the force of decibels as my last ditch.
Yes.
To make them realize they should not screw with me and they should actually give me their undivided attention because I friggin' need it desperately. Like, now they're not consciously have these words to that state.
Yes.
I'm just putting these words to that state.
Yes. Yes.
But that's what's driving them, right?
Yeah.
So then you go, oh my gosh, they just want to be heard.
Yeah.
So then instead of, you know, tightening up, wanting to get away from them. So here's this person trying to be heard and you're planning your exit to abandon them.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
It's like, not only do I not want to hear you, dude, I didn't want to even you to exist in my life. It's like, oh my gosh, talk about putting salt on a wound.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So we are accidentally reacting in a way that makes it worse.
Yes.
And as you know, some people will run, but some people will push back, push the person, get aggressive back, thinking, well, you're about to start a fight with me, so I'm going to get in first and scare you away.
Yeah.
You've just punched someone that's trying to get heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Right. So then we switch.
Yes.
They want to be heard.
Yeah.
So then suddenly we feel different.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't feel anxious.
Yes.
We feel compassion, care, curiosity.
Yeah.
We feel determined and dedicated to be of value to them. So now we're saying, dude, what's going on?
Yeah.
You've got my undivided attention.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, they still might have their voice raised, but the more you're listening and the more they can see you care, they start to calm down. That's all of us. We do that. We calm down when someone gives a shit and listens. And then, so then suddenly they're grateful. So it's like what I was saying before about being that rock. It's like they push with a raised voice, they're yelling, and then they notice you're just this force of compassion that cares about them. And then they keep poking with their raised voice, and it stays strong.
Yes.
And it stays assertive and clear, and say, but you know, if you're going to keep yelling, it means you don't believe that I care and you have my undivided attention. So I'm going to go, but my door will be open for you once you realize I do care. And these people, their good nature takes over when you're that clear and solid and balanced, right?
Yes.
So then look at the difference between one assumption.
Yeah.
One assumption of raised voice equals, you know, friggin' danger.
Yeah.
Raised voice equals a need for love, for care, for compassion.
Yeah.
Different realities. It's like a roller coaster. Someone's freaking loving it. Someone thinks they're going to die.
Yeah.
It's like you think to yourself, is this our life?
Yes.
Is this our entire life?
Yes.
That who we choose to be will determine the roller coaster ride experience? And the answer is actually, yeah. And only 1% of the time you come across a freaking full-blown sociopath, psychopath, or a cliff where you need to kind of chill out. It's a cliff. You don't want to free fall. Stay away from the bloody thing. It's a real threat. It's a bus. Get the fuck out of the way. You know? But that's only 1% of the time. Look, I've even had people who are in a sociopathic coping habit, right?
Yes.
And their life is a mess.
Yeah.
And of course, it never could be their fault. It's them against the world, hence justifying their sociopathic coping, right?
Yes.
And then when I use a more comprehensive version of UFIND, they are in tears because they discover that here they were making the world their enemy, not realizing that they were complicit in making sure it becomes their enemy and stays their enemy because someone hurt them, someone abused them, or people abused them when they were younger. And therefore, their brain learned never to let that happen again and to see everyone as wanting to do the same. And therefore, they're justified in being a sociopath.
That's it.
And when all this unpacked, they're in tears because did they sign up as a human being to become a despicable person that plots to undermine and hurt? No. But did their brain make them feel they had no choice? Yes.
Yeah.
And then suddenly those that apparently could not be reformed shift and they're different and their whole life transforms. But even that I tell you this has happened, it's still hard work and it's speculative because when you're untangling so much trauma of assumptions that have made someone harden that much and lose their trust and respect for humans and life, to unravel that can take a while, and the psychology profession's doing their best with it. But these people end up getting labeled with personality disorders, and unfortunately that kind of makes them feel like that's just who they are, which is self-defeating, and it means we get to demonize people who have these fixed issues. But I know you come from the same you know, cloth of understanding that no, you know, we get traumatized into these disorders, and the process that got us into them is the process that can get us out. But not everyone knows how to unravel and commit to that process to reclaim their good nature that's always there, that's been lost for so long because apparently didn't have a role in the jungle, you know. And so it just really helps you appreciate the power of someone who's aligned to their spine, because you know, if a sociopath doesn't want to change, and they see that you're a solid rock that believes in them, they are so afraid that if they trust again, they're going to be ambushed, that they appreciate you mean well, but then they probably would draw a conclusion that you're naive, and they appreciate you believe in them, and therefore they treat you better, but everyone else shit, or they run away from you because they just can't face the confrontation of how they feel they're being exposed.
And it's not because there is actually confrontation.
No,
Yeah.
They're feeling confronted.
Yes.
Because they thought they were hiding well.
Yeah. Yes.
In stealth.
Yeah.
And when you exposed it and you didn't judge, they didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Because normally if you get exposed, it means, oh, I now have to gaslight more, make them the problem, run away from them.
That's it.
And then come back later, hopefully when they've forgotten, love bomb them a little bit to make them think I'm all good.
Yeah.
And then get back to my stealth mode. Yeah, people do that. But I say all this because 99% of the time, this is not our issue.
Yes.
But that 1%,
yes,
I just took a deep dive into that world to show you that
you
in your flow, always adapting differently, can handle even sociopaths on your pinky.
Yes.
And so for us to live in a world where we're afraid of bad people means that we will turn good people into bad accidentally.
Yes.
And
so the UFIND process is very good at helping you feel safe within your decision making. Like it's because you can sit there and go through this process either with yourself or with someone else taking you through it. It's, you know how I really like to say, like, powerful decision making, like it's very much that, but it also creates a safe place for you to be able to work out your thoughts and your feelings and make really powerful decisions all in one hit, right?
Yeah.
Feeling safe in yourself to be able to do that, because how many people actually don't feel safe in making any decisions because they're just so stuck in fear, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know our EP7 coaches, when they saw UFIND, they loved it because I took it to another level of just really making it structured even more, like down to the bits of thought assumption sequences, like how to tease them out. And the templates evolved to such a great level, and I can see it evolving more, but I just need to chill out a little bit and not do too much too quick. But I'm excited, Mandy, that you hit the ground running with what this is.
Yeah.
We're a part of creating a few case studies from your own personal experience, which is fantastic for the workbook, because it got to show how practical it is when we reverse engineered it into scenarios that we had already lived. And so you being certified in UFIND for coaching is exciting. It's really exciting, because when we're out on the road and we're telling people use this tool, but now we've got coaches who can facilitate in such a wonderful structured way, so they could probably catch a few fish while they're letting you help them go through it. But they're learning how to fish. They're learning how to do it. And it's the greatest thing, isn't it? To empower people to empower themselves. And you know what's funny? While you empower people to empower themselves, many of them just love still having sessions because they love the fact that you get them. There's zero judgment. And they get to feel safe, and they get to unpack the Pandora's box of what's going on that's compromising their perception. And they get to do it in a way that's logic-based, structured. And it just always consistently pumps out the insights that shock them and help them want to be different in their environment. I mean, that's such a cool thing to be able to just tap out of life and go, all right, let me have a look at life differently. These are the situations I'm not impressed. How can I see them differently? Voila, it happens. You know? It's really cool.
And I was going to say, because this was something we had discussed, and this may sound like we're shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit here, but it was like, when do you not use UFIND as a process?
Well, sometimes, well, obviously when you are dealing with someone who's trying to hurt you. So that's one part. It's not about you being different. It's about you dealing with a genuine threat. And you've got you've got facts of harm
Yes.
right there and then, and you need to just get the hell out of that situation. Then you can use UFIND to review how you allowed yourself to get into that situation. That's fine.
Yes.
The other time is too many things can go wrong sometimes in a very short period of time.
Yes.
And so the emotions are really intense.
Yes.
And the assumptions are too comprehensive.
Yes.
And interrelated and deep. And so you're almost like overwhelmed.
Yes.
With so much that to try to use UFIND yourself, it's like you don't know where to go with it and all that. And sometimes you just need to look after yourself.
Yes.
And just heal and repair and just be there for you for a bit and get strong enough before you can then start to turn on that intellect of yours to look at things and evaluate and all that. So UFIND should not be used when you're in the heat blowback of a traumatic event and you just need to just recuperate from a breakdown or pain. And you don't want to be bombarding yourself, you know?
Yes.
The other thing is that you got to validate yourself before you do UFIND.
Yes.
You know, if you go to someone and they're in pain from a situation, you go, oh, let's go through a process to help you see differently. That is the biggest trigger for their subconscious. The subconscious goes, who the hell does this person think they are? We already know the truth of this situation. We've already decided it's all shit.
Yeah.
And here they are thinking that we're the problem. How dare they? And then boom, you get this sense of judgment that person thinks that you're the problem. Bad news. So the most important thing is forget UFIND in that situation and just live in appreciating what the experience of that person is.
Yes.
How they've been feeling.
Yes.
What they think is going on, and just stay there.
Yeah.
Like just stay there and appreciate that it's not fun for them.
Yes.
And help them, and then they will soften, and then they want to know.
Yes.
Then they're open to you saying that you don't deserve to be stuck in this situation at all. This is not fun. And that's a really good way to validate, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Because there's it's like anyone who's if someone's in a really overwhelmed situation, whether that's a relationship or anything, and someone's going, that person's a fucking asshole and you just got to get the hell away, and you're already overwhelmed, or it's a situation, or it might be with a boss or something like that, and you got someone like people just like throwing stuff at you, you're just like, I can't deal with this. This is just too much for me to handle, right?
Yeah, so I would say they're the times that I would not be pushing that process at all, you know.
Yes.
And it should naturally flow into it. That, you know, you can have a conversation with someone, and at your best you actually go through UFIND because you're just caring about how they feel. They're discussing how they feel about the situation. You ask more questions to try to understand more about that situation, so they start to get curious with you. And so you're actually following it, and then you go, and then you're starting to go, so you're thinking this with that situation, because I would be thinking that if I'm feeling that. They go, yeah, I'm thinking this. And and then you're discussing all the thoughts and more assumptions are coming. Like, it's so natural. So in a 2, 5, 10, 15-minute conversation, someone's come through and go, oh, that was an awesome conversation, man. I'm seeing it differently. It's like, yeah, so what are you going to do? Well, I'm thinking I should be doing it. No, they've got a different approach. It was natural. You know, and so while we've got a template, while it's structured, and while it's good to use the structure, as you get good at it, you naturally facilitate. And it's actually quite good. And actually, that's the culture we're now working on building through a mental safety system for the mining industry, but also work culture, corporate culture. Is that how do we get a culture to, how can I see this differently, becomes a very common phrase. And then validating each other in the experience first,
Yes.
having a work in progress culture,
Yes.
and then everyone is not shamed with the perception that's distorted anymore. It's absolutely freaking normal.
Yes. Yes.
And then if your mind's not on the job, if you're making mistakes, well, that's only because your perception's been compromised by events like everyone else.
Yes.
Routinely. So what's the big deal?
Yes.
So yeah, what's going on for you? So how is this affecting you? What are you feeling? And suddenly what are you feeling is a wise thing to say and a wise thing to care about.
Yes.
Imagine a culture like that.
Yes. Yes. Rather than being afraid of it, right?
Yeah. And then through that validation, a culture suddenly, hey, let's see if we can find a better way, because this is not fun to be stuck in this at all, is it? Yeah, no, not at all. I'm done with this. I want to see it differently.
Yes. Yes.
Imagine a culture like that.
Yes.
And then therefore now we have a mental safety system where every time there's a disconnect and a persistent problem where there's no value exchange between you and others, or the way you're performing your role, you're downing yourself. So that relationship with yourself is, you need to cut yourself some slack. So you'll do a UFIND on you and realize there's a part of you that just wasn't cutting you a break, wasn't allowing you to be a work in progress. And then suddenly you decided approach to yourself that's more kind and compassionate, that allows you to feel more worthy, that, hey, dude, you're allowed to learn as you go, chill out, you know? And so imagine that, imagine a mental safety system where those events trigger the adaptive nature to shift perception and cause a whole new approach in a timely way. I reckon then mental health won't be an issue.
Yes, I agree. And because what it does is it, without, it's like, I think, you know, we've spoken about this before, it's like a very practical way of personal development without actually being classified so much as personal development, right? And it brings safety to someone, but it also brings confidence to them as well, that they then have the ability at any time, you know, that they're feeling like they want to make a powerful decision, or they can go for a walk, they can come back, you know, and just sit down and be very, very clear about, okay, then I'm just going to open myself up and just see what happens when I go through this process.
Do you know, we use Play-Doh in these presentations for mental health, and the Play-Doh is important. Everyone gets a little bucket, you know, we get them to crack them open. And then as we get them to play with this Play-Doh, I talk about every assumption shapes us right from when we were children, and then that determines our perception. And it's like, but are we ever the assumption we've learned, given that any of it can be unlearned? Because it's just, oh, I need to believe this. Oh, that's not true. I need to believe something else. So we're very malleable. So then the realization is this: when we ask who is the real you, you're never what you feel you are. You are that which can be anything and feel that. Right? And that is the greatest freedom, to know that you can be anything, and therefore you could choose to be something that makes you happy, that makes you more effective, that makes you compatible with any goal you have, with any type of relationship you want and value. And so then suddenly the Play-Doh becomes this beautiful reminder that you are that which can be any shape. So stop identifying with any existing shape as if it is flawed, or you need to pretend it's perfect, or you need to find a shape that's perfect, pretend you're there, or hope to get there before the world discovers you're not there and rejects you. It's just nonsense to think that we're ever any one shape. And the good news is, whatever shape you are, keep the stuff that works, undo the stuff that doesn't.
That's right. And I like the Play-Doh, because when someone would first like crack open the Play-Doh, they would be feeling, they'd even be judging the shape, whatever shape it is that they think that they might want to form with it or whatever. And then by the end of that process, they're then like just at ease with anything, right? Any shape, any possibilities. And that's what I also love about the UFIND process in general, is that it opens you up to possibilities.
Yeah, it does, you know. And look, one thing about UFIND is that you get to the end,
Yeah.
and you're happy with the approach,
Yeah.
because it's better, it makes sense to you.
Yes.
But sometimes you still feel that it's just not good enough yet.
Yes.
And rather than force yourself to do it because it's better than the other approach that was extreme,
yes,
it's important that you start the UFIND process again to honor why you're resisting and doubting that approach.
Yes.
I should doubt this approach because squeezes out more assumptions.
Yes.
And the more you unravel the assumptions below that, well, I should assume that because you find more extremes.
Yes.
And what's beautiful about this is you can repeat UFIND until the approach you've decided on is so freaking awesome. Yes. You just can't see yourself losing because it ticks all the boxes that make sense to you, and you just go for it. And sometimes when you can't get there, it's important to go to a coach. And depending on your circumstances, if you're too unstable mentally, and you're feeling like you're going to lose it and have breakdowns, then go to your therapist, go to your psychologist, whatever you use, with the work you've done in UFIND. Say, hey, I've realized I'm feeling this and assuming this, and so far I've caught this extreme in this way, but there's so much there. And please, can you help me unravel more, because I need to look at this differently. I need a breakthrough, you know. And you know, when we've had meetings with psychologists in the mining industry and we explain this, they got excited. They go, this is fantastic if people came to us. But what's interesting is they even agree that no, but you don't just go to a psychologist straight away. Yes. You talk to a mate first. You go, hey, this situation's doing my head in. This is what I was feeling. This is what I was assuming. What else do you think is going on here? Because I'm still freaking pissed off. Or I'm still probably, you know, and then the mate with fresh eyes suddenly asks the right questions, and or then you go to a coach, or then you can go to a therapist, so you can scale up. Yes. The resourcefulness of fresh eyes and professionals to help you keep unraveling the data that's got you held hostage in a way to be that is unnecessary. That's it. Yeah. You know, so that's probably a good thing to flag with UFIND, that that you get to the end and yes, you can repeat, but sometimes those bloody problems are pretty complex. And getting fresh eyes on it is a clever way, you know.
And as I say, don't just chuck in a 10 just because it's easier.
Because at the end you're rating your approach. And if you go, oh, I'm just going to put a 10, it's like, no, don't do that. Tune in. Is it really a 10? Because even a 9.5, even a 9.9 is a clue that your subconscious could screw with you when you go to implement the approach, because it's just not all in yet. And therefore give a shit, care for your brain that's still concerned, and validate it. Understand why. It's still got a bit of the park break on that, you know. It's so important, you know, like we're so judging and suppressing all the time. The subconscious is not our enemy. It's trying to protect us. It's lived all the trauma of bullshit with us. It wired so that it didn't want us to ever be harmed again. But it accidentally is superimposing 99% of the time things it thinks it's going to happen that are so far away from that. It's not funny, and therefore we're misfiring an approach that makes things worse without us realizing. And do we blame the brain for that? It doesn't know. It's not your moral compass. So that way, who is the you that gets to decide that shape is just not representing what your heart wants, what the opportunities are there to seize? Like the real you is the leader to give that brain more data perspective, so it can rewire for you into a shape that helps stop the accidental harm.
Yes.
It's accidental.
Yes.
So to turn on yourself is really just more harm.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just more harm. And when you work on why you're not a work in progress, why your identity is pushed into being some static way of being that's meant to be perfect, and then and then the brain discovers it was harming you.
Yes.
It was harming you by projecting you into such an absurd goal of trying to be perfect, to be lovable, or
Yes.
or safe from rejection and attack or
Yes.
whatever. It's like this poor brain, it really just got carried away and it didn't know it was.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's so important to appreciate the power and limitations of a brain, and
Yeah.
how you are designed to be an observer that
Yeah.
can deconstruct what's shaping its perception, and therefore it's
Yes.
how it operates, and therefore continue to reprogram the stuff that's just not
Yeah.
representing the opportunities, your values and principles, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And you get a chance without even realizing it to be kinder to yourself, right?
100%, you know, like 20,000 coaching hours makes you realize we're all the same.
Yeah.
We all excel with the same wisdom, and we all fail with the same bullshit.
Yes.
It's like we are so similar, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
Which is why, like, you've got this fantastic energy, Mandy, where you never feel superior to anyone, but you also aren't interested in the inferiority bullshit either. So
Yeah,
you
that's
have
true.
you're in the pocket of equality.
Yeah.
And it's the best service to anyone
Yeah.
is having that energy
Yeah.
of equality.
Yeah.
And it's not, I believe in equality, so I'm going to try to be equal.
Yeah.
No, the
Yeah.
truth is that we're equal.
Yeah.
And therefore, just chill out and love the equal playing field, where we're all a work in progress.
Yes.
And we're all excelling in different ways at different times, and it's all good, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, yeah, look, I wonder where we're headed in humanity, because I see a lot of extremes
Yes.
in the way leaders, like you could imagine, right? When you spend that much time deconstructing perception, I can't see a media article without deconstructing what they're using to create the angle.
Yeah.
I can't hear a politician talk without deconstructing what's given them that perception to make them think the way they are, feel the way they are, and do what they think is relevant. I got to tell you, there is so much extreme thinking that's creating poor leadership in our politicians.
Yes.
There is so much extreme thinking in corporations that make them think that hoarding profit and having an insatiable appetite for power and expansion.
I agree. Yeah.
We are in a society where if we all decide to be a work in progress, it will be a bottom-up movement.
Yes.
And if we systemize it so that we know how to critically think a situation and get to the power of sustainability and how we choose to be with anyone and everyone, I reckon our future leaders will come from this bottom-up approach. And I'm actually very excited about our future. And yes, it's rocky right now, but I reckon that rocky world we're in right now is the purge of nonsense.
Yes.
You know, you don't know how bad it is until the lava explodes out of the volcano and you go, what the hell? What kind of reality are we in? Like, what's causing all this mayhem? Why has it come to this point where suddenly our free will, suddenly everything's complicated?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm actually very excited I'm an optimist, but I'm grounded in the bullshit to know that optimism isn't everything will be fine.
Yeah.
I'm grounded in the bullshit that we have the power to seize the bullshit and make it fine. But it's work, but it's great work. It's fantastic. It's exciting. And I do believe in contrast. So in other words, you can't have happy without sad, and you can't have right without wrong. So therefore, being human is about a journey from one to the other in infinite situations. So just enjoy the movement.
Yes. Yeah.
Enjoy having a desire, appreciate it unfulfilled, so that when it's fulfilled, you know what it really means for it to be fulfilled.
Yes.
You know, you don't know freedom until you're trapped.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know love until you
yes.
feel unloved.
Yes.
You know, so I think being human is a pretty trippy experience, and maybe us with using these processes like UFIND, we can really start accelerating, evolving ourselves individually, and then suddenly we're all helping each other evolve faster by adapting in more timely ways, you know?
Yeah. And what a beautiful way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Humility is a great fertile soil.
Yes.
Humility is powerful because it restores our sponge of data to come in properly and let us start seeing the patterns faster. And unfortunately, most people in leadership positions, they've got this pressure to be perfect, and they need to act like they already know everything, and they don't. And then they end up having to hide and pretend they didn't make mistakes and do as much damage as they did. And then that makes it worse. So yeah, unfortunately, we've got a lot of dysfunction and starting to show up more clearly. So I think the future leadership in all aspects of our society is going to be amazing, you know? But it needed the purge to expose the crazy first, you know, of trying to be perfect, this nonsense of knowing it all.
Well, it does that, whether that's individually or even in general. We see it like every decade, just about, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And is there anything else that you would really love to say about UFIND, or explain about it, or share about it? We've covered a lot today, but UFIND really is an incredible process.
Sometimes we experience change fatigue, where if we're too hard on ourselves, yes, we get value out of UFIND, but we were too busy trying to reach for the whip, for whipping ourselves for not already being perfect. So even though we go through it, there's tension and a fight in the subconscious. So we think we're giving ourselves permission to be work in progress, but how we feel in the nerves, in the nervous energy. And so we need to be compassionate to ourselves and allow ourselves to be a work in progress at being a work in progress. Right? Because unfortunately, it's like a cat and mouse game, where the moment you try to cut yourself some slack, then you're reaching for the whip for not cutting yourself some slack. It's like, what are we doing? Why do we do this? And I think it's just weird. I think it's weirdly funny that we do it. So therefore, we must have a light heart. Stop taking ourselves so seriously. We complicate our lives in the most comical ways. Time to freaking start laughing at the crazy of being human. And just don't take yourself too seriously. You know, and if you don't want to do any personal development, if you don't want to freaking do any reflection, if you just want to watch a Netflix show that cracks you up for a while, if you just want to play golf for a while, if you just want to go and have a massage and just forget the world, if you just want to watch sport, no, who cares? If you as long as you're caring about you first, then you can care about what you want in your life that's not there. And then you can build the desire to learn how to be different. And give yourself permission to be different. But sometimes you just need to tap out and say, look, world, I'm just going to be with me for a while. I'm just going to do shit that I feel like doing. And I think that's an important tip to don't think that you have to be responsible and perfect at personal development. Oh, I'm going to use this UFIND every moment of every day because I want to get to friggin'. It's like, oh, please chill out. It's not meant to be that. It's meant to be just care about you. And every time you're hurting and you're done with hurting, then at least there's a process to help you discover more of what's going on, so
Yes.
you can deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
And
And that brings in more creativity into your life as well, right?
yeah, creativity is such a vital part. It's step 3 in EP7, imagination. It's like every time we're at our best, we're creative problem solvers.
Yes. Yeah.
Every time we're at our worst, we're blinkered down into a bunch of dumb ideas that society said is the only way to solve that problem.
Yeah.
And none of them is working
Yes.
to the level that it needs to. It's exhausting. And then we get disillusioned. So often we have an imagination problem.
Yes.
And I like what Albert Einstein says: you can't solve a problem with the same mind that's creating it. And he says imagination is greater than knowledge.
Yes.
Why? Because the ideas and possibilities take you to a world where the old logic is not even needed.
Yes.
It's irrelevant.
Yes. Yeah.
And so imagination can take you to a world where you're not battling with trying to solve problems, because they don't even exist with the way your imagination created a better way.
Yeah,
It's imagination. We have to reclaim it where we are stuck. And by going neutral through the UFIND process and that wisdom spine, that restores this sense of abundance to entertain many ways of how something can be different. And we need that. We need that too. And if you get creative, if you play games, if you take on art, if you pick up that guitar again that you haven't played for a while, like any instrument, like often clients, when you look at their timeline of how things got worse gradually, often you'll notice that the things that they used to do, like an instrument, like a hobby, like things that were creative and for them, they dropped off. They dropped off. And then so you show them how those things were optimizing and balancing the brain's function and how they need to bring them back into their life, because then they will go back to how they used to be in a more balanced state of mind. And these people happily pick up that instrument again, or take up pottery or art or whatever they're doing. And it plays a very vital role in development. So we think we're being irresponsible by indulging in something, you know, fun or this or that, but it's actually, you're being irresponsible if you don't, because your quality decision making through your creative way of seeing things differently is critical to achieving a lot with less effort, you know?
And I think we punish ourselves a little bit in regards to, you know, because there's so much when you can like tap into like your bit of like childlike wonderment type thing, people go, well, then I lose control, right? Because then I you know, or maybe that's just being super naive or whatever. But being able to, what it does, it helps you become a little bit more playful, right? And creative, and have a little bit more fun in your life. And you've got to have that in your life, otherwise it's just all based on trying to control everything, and you do become so harsh and brutal on yourself.
Yeah, look, you think to yourself that we're always chasing a destination where apparently things will be good. It's kind of like, well, what happened to the destination points from moment to moment that get you there? What's different between 10 destination points later, 20 destination points later, 30 destination, 100, and this destination point called the moment? Because what creates that ultimate destination point is what you choose to be in the moment. Because that's the only place where your power to be malleable exists. That's the only place where your free will can make a difference. And that compounds into the next moment to do it again, that compounds into the next moment. So if you are not knowing how to make the moment a worthy destination point to enjoy, it won't be sustainable. And you know what ends up happening to us? And I was raised the same way. We take too much pride in blood, sweat, and tears as look at me with my hard work ethic. Look at me working 16 hours. Girl, look at me, right? And then people go, oh my gosh, you're such a workaholic. Look at you. Look how determined you are. Look at how amazing you are. And so what happens is we go, yeah, that's me. That's why I'm successful, because I work like a bastard. I sacrifice so much. And so it's like, well, why do we need our imagination for then?
Yeah.
The harder it is, the more love you get, the more respect you get. So screw your imagination. More blood, sweat, and tears, please.
Yeah.
That subconscious will wire that you should be proud when things are hard, when you put up with shit. And so therefore, we don't look for a better way, because a better way starts to feel like cheating.
Yes, that's right. And then you don't realize where you're at until shit hits the fan and like you're burnt out.
Yeah, well, exactly, because it's not meant to be that way, and it's unsustainable, and it catches up with us, right? But it's kind of like, well, if you make it easier, do you have the imagination to know what your life can be like if you're not chasing your tail? If you're not living a rat race, because you're more effective, you achieve more with less effort, you do the same job in 30 hours instead of 50, and then you learn to do it in 20, and then you apportion the other 10 or 20 to something else that's exciting. And yes, it might take more effort with learning curves, but then once again, you're achieving more there. And then you've outsourced the other stuff to someone else or other people, because you've done with doing that, you've systemized it. Like, why can't you have always the opportunity to go to another level? Instead of thinking that the harder it is, the more you've earned it. And then you begrudge people who do it easily. You know? And then your brain wants to dismiss it as, oh, they must have got help. Oh, their family must have had money. Oh, they were just gifted with genetics. It's like, oh, please, like, you are designed the same way as everyone else. There's only a minute fraction of the people who are unfortunately compromised with their brain function genetically, with whatever deformity, and that's sad, and we just got to take care of these people. But the majority of us, our brain can rewire and relearn and unlearn and relearn indefinitely. So come on, like, you know. And so this, you know, comes down to purpose, Mandy. It all comes down to purpose. It's like, why? Why am I here? Why is this important to me? What do I really want from it? How do I really want to feel? Why should I care to make it a priority? What will it take to make it worth my while? You know, we need purpose in everything, because the stronger the purpose, the more we ignite it into flow. Right? So the stronger the purpose, the less effort is needed. I see it in everyone. Whenever I say to someone, okay, tell me about your proudest achievements, where things were easy for you, and we deconstruct that, have a guess what we find? Total alignment to their wisdom spine. Complete alignment, and their creativity, intuition was turned on, which come together to give you flow. The right ideas come to you at the right time. And so every single person, whether they're in the kitchen, on the golf course, climbing Mount Everest, every single person, from triathletes to chefs, right? They were in flow at their best. Even a mother loving the way she parented her children and getting so much joy out of it, in her flow.
And I think that's important to, you know, remember about purpose too, because some people feel purpose is, it's one of those things where you have to be, I don't know, out there impacting millions every day, and that's what purpose means.
Oh yeah, higher purpose. They assume it's about greatest purpose for impacting the world. No, but you're right. You're so right. Like, you got to bring it back to, what is your purpose to your own emotional well-being, your own self-worth? What is your purpose to the roles in your life from
Yeah.
being a parent to being a coach to being a friend
Yes.
to being a child of your parents. What is your purpose to an endeavor, a particular goal? And I reckon through, like, EP7 has a purpose hierarchy. If you take care of yourself
Yes.
properly, your relationship to your emotional well-being and your physical health, that flows into being amazing for
Yes.
people around you, because you are full of the contentment of being a work in progress, and
Yes. Yeah.
and you're not finding yourself for validation that you're
Yeah.
worth it and capable.
Yeah.
Then what happens is you end up with a network that is so grateful for who you are with them that they can't stop talking about you to other people. And then
Yeah.
suddenly you're getting approached for opportunities.
Yes.
And then that turns into higher level of goals.
Yes.
And then that attracts you to higher relationships of
Yes.
people like you that
Yes.
then keeps going higher and higher as you collaborate
Yes.
to change
Yes.
a community, change a country, change
Yes.
the world.
Yes.
So in other words, our true flow
Yeah.
of first us, then those around us in our own backyard, and then it actually will keep extending until we leave our mark in
Yes.
our own way
Yeah.
on the world.
Yes.
But we
agree.
never focus on that.
Yes.
We focus on here, now. Who can I be for me and those around me to
Yes.
make a difference? And
Yes.
you just go all in on that, and
Yes.
everything else takes care of itself.
Yes, I agree. I like that. I'm glad that we've spoken about that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, Mandy, purpose is, it just needs to be meaningful.
Yeah.
It just needs to make sense to you.
Yeah.
And it needs to be value rich.
Yeah.
And so what are the values
Yes.
that make what you do worth it?
Yeah. Because if you're not feeling good about it, then what really is it?
Yeah. Do you feel connected? Do you feel uplifted? How? Why? Are you passionate? Are you listening intently?
Yeah.
Are you giving of yourself with passion and intensity because you care?
Yeah.
Are you delving deeper because you love the treasure of learning more?
Yeah.
Are you courageous to challenge your own ideas with the feedback of others?
Yes.
Are you willing to go out of your comfort zone and go try something new and see how you experience it, so it expands you into a world you didn't know existed? Like, it's common.
Yeah.
It's common across all of us that purpose is about the connection to realize you belong, and to expand in more connections to expand your belonging.
Yes.
In a nutshell,
yeah,
you get to decide with your free will how you play that out.
yes.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's as cool as it gets.
Yeah, that's it. That's awesome. And so I'm looking at the time, and we have absolutely rocked this podcast today.
Well, you know, we're trying to compete with Joe Rogan. 3 hours later, let's talk about drugs. Yeah, he's awesome. He's so cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and how can people reach out to you, so they can speak with you about UFIND? Or, I mean, people know how they can reach out to me, but what's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
Well, for UFIND, they should come to you.
Yeah.
If someone's listening and they just want to look at their work culture, and they want to look at their leadership, and they want UFIND built into that, then definitely come to us. We've got verveeducation.com or ep7.com.au. Will reach me. Lifecoachperth.com will reach me. It's easy to reach me. Maybe we put social media link in the podcast or something.
Yes, I will.
But so if you want to transform your organization and really turn up its resilience, its adaptive nature, and really connect the vision of the organization with the culture so it just is in flow. We'd love to help you build so that not only do you take care of mental health, but you actually allow thriving to be the new normal in your culture. That's what I'd love to do, that more and more for organizations, because it's happening, and that's exactly where it's going for everyone. So I'm just privileged to be a part of doing that for people, you know.
Yeah, that's so good. Oh, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a lot of fun, and like I can chat to you for hours about this type of stuff. So, and about UFIND as well. So, but yeah, no, it's been really awesome. Thanks so much, George.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Mandy. Thank you for having me on.
Cool. And thank you everybody for tuning in today. It's been awesome having you on, and lots of hugs to you, George, and lots of hugs to everyone else. See you later.
Hugs back. Thank you.
Hey, beautiful man. If you're going through stress, need insight, direction to lighten the load, brother, and support during these challenging times, reach out to me. It's no secret that there are so many men suffering at the moment, amazing men, and they're so keen to get help, but don't know what that looks like. So I've created a 6-week one-to-one resilience coaching package for men with one-to-one coaching calls and support via Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp in between calls to help put yourself back in the driver's seat of life. And there's a strong level of trust that goes hand in hand with walking by someone's side during their challenges and their celebrations too. And that's what I'm here for, brother. So message me and let's find your path to true resilience.